Next, we will have a quick word from our sponsor of this event, Insperity. Bryce Jenny is going to join us up here on stage to talk about the work that they've done with venture capital firms and entrepreneurs all over the Southeast and the country. Take it away, Bryce.
Awesome, Chris. Thanks. And thanks to the team at Launch Tennessee. Insperity just couldn't be more happy to be a part of this. When we think as an organization, what we are tasked with, which is to help businesses succeed so that communities can prosper, partnering with someone like Launch Tennessee and the broader 3686 community is a no-brainer for us. So what we at Insperity aim to do is really just to empower the entrepreneurs that we work with and their capital partners to really succeed at every stage of their growth cycle, whether that be seed to Series A, B, and any sort of exit scenario, all through people operations and the human capital strategy. So we really invest our time on the talent and risk axiom of that engagement. And at the end of the day, just are very excited to continue our great partnership with Launch Tennessee and excited to be here. So I won't belabor it any longer. Let's get back to Chris and the terrific programming. Thanks, everybody.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Bryce. We're really excited to have Insperity as a partner for this first event. You've been a great partner to Launch Tennessee as a whole and our other efforts with 3686. So thank you all so much. So really quick, just to sort of give you all sort of background on the capital call and how this came to be. So I work as Launch Tennessee's capital formation manager, where we work to connect startups with capital and support Tennessee becoming one of the most startup-friendly states in the nation. Capital is a big part of any startup's journey, and we want to be able to support especially those early stage startups here within our state and around the Southeast, really, in various regards. Really came as a community effort as Brandon Bruce, who is the head of Startup Knox and a seasoned entrepreneur himself, reached out and said, hey, it would be great to find an opportunity to really, especially during this time where we've all sort of become a little bit more accustomed to virtual events, to find a way to connect. Really started with the Tennessee investor ecosystem. As we thought more about it, decided to branch out and really invite all of our Southeastern partners to connect, convene, and really provide an opportunity for us to get to know each other without necessarily having to fly out to a conference, and also to really connect on a more regular basis. There's real opportunity in terms of sharing deal flow, in terms of getting better understanding of the different markets that all of us work and invest in. So that we really hope that this will be the first of many, and a real opportunity for us to, as I say, help all rising tides lift all boats. One of my favorite quotes is actually, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And so I believe that as Southeastern investors and as members of the startup ecosystem in the Southeast, the more that we can go together, the farther we'll get. So all that said, I would love to go ahead and kick it off to this wonderful fireside chat that I'm personally really excited about. I've known Brandon and Derrick for quite a while. Derrick actually was the one who introduced me to John Lanahan, who's on the call, and sort of kicked off my Launch Tennessee journey. So excited to have both of them. Really quick about to them. Brandon Bruce lives in Knoxville, Tennessee. He's the co-founder and former COO of Cirrus Insight, which was number 41 on the Inc. 500 list in 2016. Brandon is the chair of the Knox Entrepreneur Center and recently co-founded Startup Knox, which produces a startup ecosystem guide and a podcast featuring interviews of local startup founders. He is currently working on for 5 years. In early March, Brandon hiked the 72-mile stretch of the Appalachian Trail through the Great Smoky Mountains National Park in 25 and a half hours. This guy's a beast, and I'm really excited for this conversation. This has got a lot to share. So, also, featured speaker Derrick Morgan is a former NFL linebacker who enjoyed an amazing 9-year career for Tennessee Titans. He studied business management at Georgia Tech and later received his MBA from the University of Miami. Derrick has a passion to change the narrative of the traditional athlete. He is a champion for empowerment of the underserved, as well as an advocate for financial literacy. Derrick has been involved in commercial and residential development in Nashville and Austin over the last several years. He's a co-founder of Next Legacy Construction, a company that engages with FEMA to deliver construction services to areas hit by natural disasters. Derrick is an angel investor, investing in dozens of companies over his professional career, which we'll talk about today. More recently, aligning his private finances with his values, Derrick has started Kingdom Group, an opportunity zone initiative focused on investing in projects and companies that generate a double bottom line return, financial plus social and environmental. He's an early investor in food sustainability company Beyond Meat, as well as BigWise, a tech startup that administers technology training for minorities. Derrick believes that private investment has a critical role in revitalizing marginalized communities and continues to leverage his platform for positive change. Derrick is married with 2 children, and his faith is the centerpiece of his life. So without further ado, we'll pass it off to Brandon Bruce and Derrick Morgan. While they're coming up, we get some virtual round of applause.
There you go. Yeah. Hey, thanks a ton, Chris. Derrick, it is awesome to be here with you. Let me echo a couple things that Chris said and also that Van Tucker said. First of all, we're not in person, so I got to pan a little bit. Rocking the 3686 shirt today. That conference is coming up. If you haven't grabbed your tickets yet, definitely do that. I always love going to it in Nashville. Obviously, this year's a unique year. We're not all going to be together in the same geographic space, but that was the purpose for this call, is to bring us all together throughout the region. So grab your tickets for that conference. That'll be kind of the next natural big follow-up event to this call. I don't know about the rest of everybody on the call. I got ready for today's call by watching some highlight reels of the Titans defense, watching some tackles, watching a lot of sacks. That got me kind of excited to jump on here. This is my first opportunity to meet Derrick. Chris has a longer-term relationship with you, Derrick. It's a pleasure to meet you in person, and thanks again for making time to come on and share your journey with us.
I appreciate it. Appreciate y'all having me on, and excited to dive in a little bit.
Absolutely. So, to go back in time a little bit, 16th overall draft pick, ranked 6th in sacks overall for the Titans franchise. But that whole time, you've had a very successful career as an entrepreneur and investor, including getting your MBA while being a player. Talk about kind of, your background heading into the NFL and what's kept you driven to continue to achieve all these things while also
work 60 hours a week and provide for us, and just she set that mold, right? And so my work ethic has always been, at the very center of who I am, and just pairing that with my ambition. When I was at Georgia Tech, I always say it was an academic school first. It's the only college that, not the only, but one of the only colleges that, if it's a Thursday night game or primetime game, the stadium's probably half packed, but the library is full. And it was an academic school, and we had to really apply ourselves wholeheartedly. And so I think that for me set it really set the example for, academic, my academic endeavors, and really prepared me for transitioning into the NFL, because I was very self-sufficient and, had a lot of responsibility on me. And so that really translated well. And then really just getting into the league and understanding that everybody is really hyper-focused on getting to the league, but the more challenging part is staying in the league. And so when my rookie year, I ended up tearing my ACL, and I missed my whole rookie year. And for a few months' time, I had to ask questions around, okay, what's my career going to look like? Am I going to be 2-3 years and gone? And if that is the case, what are my options outside of football? I didn't really have many. So I think that moment of adversity and challenge really sparked in me the motivation to really want to diversify myself and to diversify my interest. and that started me on my path. So I would definitely attribute it to that. But just pairing it up with how I was brought up and the values that were instilled into me.
That's awesome. And so once you decided to kind of head down that path of diversification, was it immediate in your mind, like, I want to start looking for investment opportunities? Did you want to start companies, do a combination of both? And obviously you are an investor now. So what was that first dive in as an investor? What was the investment? How did it go?
Yeah, it was really waking up to my own personal finances and not taking a passive role in those. So, my first year or two, I really wasn't involved in that. Any decisions being made, any investments, I was very passive. I was hyper focused on ball. And I started seeing guys, getting caught up in these different schemes and losing money. And I'm like, let me take some more time out and pay more attention to, how my money's working and what it's being invested in and how it's being managed. And so I started the process of calling my financial advisors. One thing I used to do, I would sit in the meetings and I would kind of act like I knew what was going on, just not to look stupid. And it was really just prideful, man. And I would just, I would shake my head, yes, and yeah, I get it. And then, man, something just clicked in me. I was just like, you know what? I'm not going to keep putting on this, this act. I'm going to really start asking questions. I don't care if I look uneducated. Like, you're an expert in this, I'm an expert in this, but let me learn this. And so I started to really ask questions and get more hands-on. And I would check my account every day, and I would call like, hey, why is this being transferred? Oh, that was a mistake. Oh, what you mean that was a mistake? Oh, I need that back into my account. And so I started to see things and be exposed to things. And you always hear the stories, of guys they lost $20 million or however much, and it's like a slow bleed over years. And I started seeing things, and I had to fire a couple people. And so that process started really woke me up on my finances and what that meant, and what were my financial goals. Not what were my financial advisors' goals for me, but what were my financial goals for me and my family. And so I started to look at my wealth and my finances from a whole new perspective. And that started to really, open up other doors into going and getting my MBA and investing in companies, because I had set my foundation, and I understood what I wanted, and I kind of went from there.
Were your first investments, were some of those in real estate, or did that come later? And what were your first kind of company investments? Were they startups? Were they existing companies spinning out tech that you were interested in?
Yeah, so I start early on. I didn't really have a good investment thesis. I would just, get deals emailed to me, year 3, year 4, the deals weren't great. My deal flow was pretty pathetic, and it was car washes and the traditional athlete pitches, right? Music studios, and I'm just like, this ain't it. And so I really took a liking to real estate. I started getting into real estate and doing single family house flips in Austin with my partner out there. And then I started to get more into the commercial side of things on the office rental asset class. And then companies just, as my network started to increase and evolve, there's a saying, your network is your net worth. And I believe in that. And once I started to really make connections outside of this NFL bubble, my deal flow increased. It got better. It got more quality. And so better opportunities started coming my way. And, a lot of athletes, when they come into the NFL or NBA, whatever, they feel like they got to write $1 million checks or $250,000 checks. And the mindset is just oh, we have to be the biggest check in the deal. And that's so backwards, especially when you talk about, venture capital investing. The method is to sprinkle it out and diversify. And so instead of investing 250 in one company, take that and invest in the 10 companies. And that's really how I started to really evolved my thinking on investing. So I think my largest investment I made, starting out, was somewhere around $75,000 into this company called Mansour. One of my buddies at Georgia Tech started this company, a team of engineers. They got some traction, but it just fizzled. And that was a lesson for me because I had put too much money into one company. And from that point, my investments started to come down like 50, 25,000. And then I'm investing in probably like 25 companies right now. And some of those are through venture capital funds. Some of those are through just me directly investing in them. And so one of my early successes was Beyond Meat, and just being able to get into that deal. My wife was very influential in getting us in there. She actually reached out to Ethan Brown, the CEO, and set up a meeting, and we went out there in LA and met. And so like that's one of my more successful ones. I have a couple other, just that are in the impact space, and they're still ongoing. So it's been a process.
Yeah, I mean, I remember headlines from years ago, right? You got a lot of attention for the vegan diet, and you turned on a lot of the other players at the Titans to that. Your wife's a well-known chef, and so it was her network in this case that helped to facilitate that introduction. Once the intro was made, how were you able to participate? Were they in an active fundraising stage at that point? So you were able to participate, or were you able to kind of get in sideways on it?
Yeah, so they were definitely raising, but the one thing that we positioned was brand equity. So being able to leverage, our likeness and who we are to, instead of just getting a, cash out for being an ambassador, now let's do some equity instead. And so that was one of the ways in which we participated in that deal, and it just made a lot of sense. And they've been supplying product ever since, which is a great added on bonus. But it's just being able to see what the opening is. And I tell my wife, like, if you don't have to, if you can use your likeness to some extent, then let's lean on that, and see what you can get out of that.
And two of the other ones that you got into were Clean Fiber and Macro. What were the things that attracted you to those deals?
So I would back up to a few years ago, because my investment, the lens in which I looked at companies started to change. And so, a lot of my portfolio was in stocks and bonds, ETFs, all those things. And I started to really like wake up to understand what my dollar was doing and how it was being invested. And a lot of the times the companies didn't match what my values were. And so I started to really like dissect some of like the companies that I was invested in. And it was like the environmental footprint or the social footprint. It didn't make sense for what I wanted to accomplish in the world. And so, whether I was doing philanthropy and doing like different charitable things in the community, my private side and my private investments were not matched over here on this side. So I was really in conflict. And so I started to really reanalyze the types of companies that I invested my money into. And so that started with me reading a lot, doing a lot of research into the impact investment space. I met a lady named Morgan Simon. She's based out of Oakland, and she's like she wrote this book called Real Impact. It was about impact investing and all that. So I reached out to her and slowly but surely started to build a relationship with her. And she was really influential in guiding me into these investments. They had a whole due diligence process and vetting process on how they evaluated companies, different metrics from a social standpoint, while also, looking at the financials. And so a lot of the deal flow that I've gotten on the impact side has come from her. So you mentioned Macro, which is a company that tells positive stories about Black and brown people. Clean Fiber is it's an eco-friendly insulation. I'm invested in Bitwise, which is probably one of the more successful ones. Bitwise administers tech training to underserved communities. They're based out of Fresno. and they actually raised the largest Series A by a Latina founder. I think it was 27 million Series A. So a lot of that came from Morgan, right? And then now, the deals in which I have like a filter. So if the deal doesn't have some type of impact on it, it's easier for me to say no and to be more disciplined on my approach and how I evaluate deals.
And then, so are you running through your current deals through the same criteria then that you kind of developed in coordination with Morgan? Do you have, like you say, your filters or your checklists for how to evaluate them, and how do people surface these new ideas to you? Do they go through your team? Do they need to reach out directly to you? How do you evaluate deal flow now? Because obviously you got a lot more now than you did when you started.
Yeah, it comes from various places. Some people might reach out on the website. I might get a deal from one of my advisors. One of my partners, in Atlanta might, swing something my way. We're currently vetting a deal in Philly that came through one of my contacts at a wealth management company. So like they come from different places, and depending on what the asset class is, we have a certain vetting process that we go through. So if it's real estate, for example, we're vetting a senior housing and workforce ground up construction development right now. So I'll bring in, some of my developer mentors and advisors to look at that deal with me and say, hey, look, am I looking at this the right way? A lot of it is based on geography in real estate. So like I got some advisors in the Philadelphia area. I'll call them up. I say, hey, look, I just sent you this, this packet. Let's walk through it. And so depending on what the asset class is, if it's an impact like company, I'll call Morgan and say, hey, take a look at this and whatnot. So really the advisory that we've insulated ourselves with really helps us evaluate and make wise decisions on what things to explore and what things not to.
And when you talk about impact, because a lot of people will use the word like compromise, right? So it's like, hey, we're optimizing in part for impact, but we also would like to see a return. For you, do you think of it that way? Do you think of it as a compromise? Like, hey, even if this doesn't hit, the ball out of the park in terms of profit, we're still making an impact? Or at the same time, for a company like Beyond Meat, I mean, it's built into the mission, so it's not a compromise at all. It looks like a competitive advantage.
Yeah.
And so maybe it's an opportunity to make more in the way of profits and returns for you as an investor by having an impact. How do you think about that?
It's a good question, because I mean, I was struggling with the narrative of impact investment in general, because people still think that means philanthropy, that impact investing, or that's the same thing as charity, and they put it in that bucket. And I'm like, no, that's something completely different. You could still make money over here. When people say compromise, or I got to come down on the return to make it social impact investment, or environmental investor, I say no. I don't think you have to. Now, do you have to sometimes get more creative, especially in real estate with the financing? Yeah, like I think our capital stack in real estate is not going to look like a traditional debt and equity capital stack, right? We're going to have to go after, LIHTC credits, low-income housing tax credits, or new market tax credits, or community development block grant, or different subsidies and grants, and cheap capital, CDFI funding. Like the capital stack is going to look way more different because the impact is so great that it may not be in the best neighborhood, and then you throw an opportunity zone, designation over that, then it just makes it sweeter. But I don't think you have to suffer, because I think it depends on what you're looking to get. Now, if you're trying to get 20% returns, I mean, I don't know too many asset classes that would deliver that. I mean, there's a few that we could talk about, but they may not fall into the impact side, or they may. Like if you invested in Beyond Meat early on, like you're seeing a very well outsized return on your investment. Yeah. So I think it just depends. I think it's case by case, and so like we have like a certain barometer. So like we'll say we want to get anywhere from 6 to 10% preferred return, right? But sometimes the deal may not fall within that, but the impact is, it's through the roof. And so we have hired Howard Buffett, who's Warren Buffett's grandson, and he's a professor at Columbia, and he's developed this lowercase IRR, which stands for impact rate of return. So it gives you another metric on the impact side to view the investment in a different way. So as opposed to just looking at an IRR, traditional, internal rate of return, you can look at the lowercase IRR and say, okay, I may be giving up 1 or 2 points on this side, but look at all the social metrics that I am helping to be a part of and change and be a solution for. So if you care about jobs created, or you care about the amount of people who attain a certain type of degree or education status, like there's certain metrics that you can input depending on what the investment is, that'll say, okay, this is going to yield this type of social return. So you have your traditional IRR and your lowercase IRR, and then we look at projects that have a compelling story to them. So like you wrap all that in, and maybe it balances out for you. So maybe there's no compromise. So it just depends on how you look at it, man. It's different from person to person.
Yeah, and so last year when you announced your retirement, simultaneously you said, hey, we're going to raise a $200 million opportunity zone under the name Kingdom Group. And so talk a little bit more about the focus of Kingdom. Are you really looking for ozone opportunities from a real estate standpoint? Do you think there'll be some ozone opportunities in operating businesses? Because we've had a number of meetups throughout the state. Launch Tennessee has partnered in some of them here in Knoxville. Knoxville Entrepreneur Center and Knoxville Chamber organized a big event to talk about opportunity zones. They're still pretty brand new, so we're seeing some investment dollars put to work, but a lot of people are still looking for guidance. So based on your fund and your experience, what are you seeing out in the market? What sort of opportunities are you all looking for at Kingdom?
Yeah, so we had originally launched with the mindset of doing a blind pool fund structure. And so we had identified a significant pipeline of opportunities on projects based with our former partners who we're no longer affiliated with. But what we've seen and through the conversations that we had, we're first-time fund managers, right? So people really wanted to see project specificity. And so a lot of the early activity in the OZ space is around real estate. Like you said, the regulations recently just got finalized. So it is a pretty new program. So real estate took off, and that's really where we have focused our energy and our efforts, is finding projects that we have a direct influence over from a developer standpoint, and then going out and raising OZ funds that are related to those specific projects. So we have a few projects that are in pre-dev right now that are in opportunity zones that will be going out and raising for. We just really got down this lane of real estate development, and it's a long process, but we felt more confident if we were in the deal and we had local boots on the ground and we could actually see the deal and understand how it was evolving and have an influence over it, as opposed to being more passive in that blind pool fund structure. So, we are going project by project and raising OZ funds for those given projects. And so the operating business component, it hasn't gotten a lot of investment. If you look at some charts and graphs, like it's lagging far behind. But I think that program and that component of the program is going to start coming online. So, for example, we have a accelerator that's set up through our website, and we've had 85 companies go through the accelerator. And what it does is, everybody's not going to be VC, funded, and that's fine. But what it does is it gives you different resources in order to leverage to get government resources or to try to go and get a CDFI loan or whatnot. So it helps you navigate. And so we've had 85 companies sign up without even really marketing that. And so I think that's going to be the next phase, and I'm definitely excited about that.
Are you running the accelerator as a virtual program? Was it always conceived that way?
Yeah, it's a virtual accelerator as it currently sits, and we're just going to continue to build out the content for that as well.
Okay, so folks can go to the Kingdom website, and it's open application, and you guys have a screening process, and then choose 85 so far. How many more do you think that you'll accept in, or do you have sort of an idea of how many you'll take per month or per year?
I'm actually excited. We were just having a conversation about this before we hopped on, but we're looking to partner with a very established entity to come alongside us and provide either microfinancing in terms of loans, as well as VC for those companies, VC funding for those companies that are appropriate for it. And so that is something that's currently in the works, and I think is going to help accelerate some of the investment.
That's exciting from a fundraising standpoint, because I think I always look at investors also, and I consider them to be entrepreneurs, right? Unless they're just investing for themselves, they're out raising. Their startup is to attract limited partners to the fund that they operate and choose good investments and create a return for the customers, the LPs. When you've been presenting Ozone opportunities, as you get into deals and work with the developers and you like them, so you're getting involved, as you go out to find LPs, has it been relatively easy? I mean, part of the thesis of Opportunity Zones was there's a lot of capital gains waiting on the wings. And to help put it to work, let's create a tax incentive structure that if people are willing to tie up for 10 years, they'll be able to take it tax-free. So have you found that a lot of people are just ready and willing and eager to jump on those opportunities, or has it been more difficult?
So we've been soft circling a lot of our potential LPs. There is a clock that goes off as soon as you start, you actually take money into an OZ fund. It's been extended, but it's traditionally 6 months. And so what we've done is we've kept our interested LP group informed and updated as we continue to advance the projects, because we don't want to take on money prematurely. There has been a lot of interest from different sources of capital, like family offices and just different high net worth individuals. Some institutions we've been talking to, like Goldman Sachs, they've been interested on the debt side. And so we've been having those conversations, but we're just now getting into a point where the time is right to actually go out and raise the capital for those projects. And so it's just been more so like, let's get these things ready. Let's get them shovel ready, get them online, and then we'll go out and we'll actually start the raise process, because it's a lot of, like, we have traditional equity, cool, we can raise it and we can park it. But OZ is like, okay, you got that ticking clock as soon as you collect it. So, we've been sinking our resources into the development side and then, advancing that. But the interest level has definitely been there. We see people who are definitely interested, and they look at it as almost like it's a different portion of their portfolio. And so, a lot of people are allocating whatever their cap gains are to these types of projects. And so we've seen a lot of interest, especially now, man, like, with the whole injustice, conversation around equity and access and inclusiveness, we've seen an uptick in interest. So like people who have already been in this, impact oriented space are benefiting, because there's a lot more people that are reaching out, even over the last 6 to 8 weeks. Like, hey, like what can we do? Like, we know what you stand for, can we be involved? And so that's been great. That's really been great. And so I think that we're definitely going to be able to take advantage of that in a good way.
Absolutely. What's the top resource that you found just to learn more about Opportunity Zone funds? That was a question that came in, is to say, hey, if I want to learn more, dig into this, you benefit obviously from having a big network of advisors. Was it a person? Was it a book? Was it a video? Is it a government website that breaks it down that you found the most useful?
It's a podcast. Hold on, I'm about to tell you right now. It's called Opportunity Zones Podcast. And I mean, every time I'm in the car, I'm listening to that. It's about 100 episodes on there. Everything from nonprofit financing to conscious capitalism, single family. It's a whole different array of topics, but very, very informative. That's something that I have on repeat.
Thinking about portfolio, what's the best way? There's 65 folks on the call here, and we had obviously a number that registered that weren't able to make it, but we'll supply notes to later. What's the best way for the investors on the line now, if they wanted to work with you, if they wanted to tie up with Kingdom or look into deals that you all are doing? What's the best way to do that? And because it sounds like you're building relationships with lots of different types of funds on the capital side, on the debt side. Do people reach out through the website? Do you have a process that you go through in terms of syndicating deals or looking for folks to join you?
I'm pretty easily accessible. You can hit me on LinkedIn. The website is info@kingdomgroup.com, and we spell kingdom without any vowels, so it's KNGDM Group. LinkedIn, IG. I'm on all the platforms, and I'm pretty accessible. Email as well. So yeah, I could either one of those avenues are good.
And then outside of the real estate side, from an operating company standpoint, any companies new on your radar that you've gotten involved with recently that you would recommend that others on the call might take a look at for rounds now or even future rounds?
I wish I had my spreadsheet open, but there is one of our companies who went through our accelerator is raising a $1.2 million round. I'll try to get that company by the time I sign off and put that in here. But that is something that just got put on my radar this morning. I'll get
awesome.
the info.
Yeah, we can share some of that in the chat, and then also after the meeting, obviously we'll circulate to everybody a follow up, and so we can include any number of them that you're willing to share, from the spreadsheet that you think people would be interested in looking at. We jump over to the Q&A tab real quick. Someone commented having a shovel or investment ready project from an OZ standpoint is key. So for you, what are the pre-development steps that are critical to getting that off the ground? Is it working with your developer partners to source these, or what do you look through on your filter there? Because we kind of talked about the filter from a operating company standpoint from Beyond Meat, et cetera. From a real estate standpoint, are there some additional filters aside from location that you're looking for?
Yeah, so it's a process. You have to understand what you're good at and what you bring to the table, as far as resources and value add. And so I always start there, and we always start there as a team. But really, we don't just come into a market and say we're going to do a multifamily deal, 200 units, boom, like let's go. Now we actually come in and we go bottom up, so it takes a little longer. So we talk to city council, county commissioners, state reps, nonprofits, school districts, churches. Like, it's a very inclusive process because we want to understand the dynamic of the community if we don't already have boots on the ground there, and get a better insight onto what are some of the problems. Because our main goal with Kingdom is to solve problems through our development, right? And so we're not going in there solely off of a financial perspective. We're going in there to create solutions. And so if we're in there and we're like, okay, they're like, for example, my hometown, the reason I got into opportunity zones is my hometown in Coatesville, Pennsylvania is an opportunity zone, the whole city. And it sits within the richest county, which is Chester. It sits in the richest county in Pennsylvania. I didn't know that growing up. We were just in our little bubble. And so, one of the things with Coatesville is there is a somewhat of a concentration of poverty. So we didn't want to go in and do, we had ideas of doing affordable housing. So when we got to talk to the city, they're like, look, we don't want no more affordable housing. It's too much. We don't want no more. We want more commercial businesses and create that vibrancy within the downtown, corridor. So we're like, okay, cool. So we altered our plans to that and addressing that pain point. And so we put together a plan to do a sports complex, an event center, which sounds crazy now in the middle of COVID, but with a food and retail hall, right? Like these are all things that we're hoping are still, viable in 18 months to 2 years.
Right.
So that's how long it's going to take to construct. So that's an example of the process, and you got to get buy-in. You got to get consensus and try to align all the interests, because the city council may have another motive, the state rep or whoever. You gotta talk to a lot of stakeholders so that that you're not excluding anybody, and know that you may not be pissing somebody off because people get real sensitive in these circles, and it's like, oh, well, he didn't come talk to me. Why didn't he reach out to me? And I'm like, I didn't even know you existed. And so you got to be very intentional about that process, especially when you're dealing with like impact oriented, developments, because you're going to need access to different types of resources. So it's a bottom up approach.
I know we're about to jump to the lightning round and hear from a number of the investors on the call, but I do want to ask this last question that's in the Q&A. The Milk Caps just submitted. He's talking about looking at the SEC filings. It looks like, a continuous and significant flow of capital into traditional real estate deals in the state of Tennessee. What would be the best arguments to essentially attract those investors to doing some opportunity zone deals?
I mean, for me, the program speaks for itself. And I think that you gotta invest your money with people who you feel are good operators and good executioners. Like, so if you put your money, into an OZ deal, it's not a good deal just because it's an OZ deal. The deal already has to be good. OZ is just an extra added bonus, right? And so if you have some, if you need some tax mitigation, it's an excellent, bucket for you to put your cap gains in, right? It does some social or environmental good, hopefully. And you just got to be confident in whoever is administering the project or the investment. And so I think that, people look at 1031s, right? 1031s is a very tried and true method in the real estate space where you sell a property and you reinvest the whole proceeds, everything into a new property. With OZ, it's like, nah, you don't have to do that. You could sell a property and only put the net proceeds into the opportunity zone investment. So it's less cumbersome from that standpoint. And I mean, there's a lot of benefits to it, right? Deferral, and then you actually get a tax-free investment over 10 years, after 10 years. So it's so many added bonuses to it. And then you're doing community good if it's the right type of project. So there's a lot of reasons.
Yeah, so I think probably the number one takeaway would be it's still got to be a great deal, but look outside of the traditional areas geographically that folks are looking at and be willing to look for great deals in these designated opportunity zones.
Yeah.
Awesome to talk with you, Derrick. I think we could talk for a long time more, so hopefully we'll have the chance to do that in the future. Let me bring up Chris Hatch because he's got a great program lined up of lightning rounds. Everybody, please feel free to continue to put in Q&A and chat questions. Derrick's going to be here during the event. Hopefully he'll be able to chat in a couple investment opportunities also, and we'll follow up with those by email. But yeah, thanks a bunch, Derrick, for being here. I really appreciate it.
Appreciate it, Brandon. Thank you, Chris.
Awesome. Thank you, Brandon. Thank you, Derrick, so much. What a really, really awesome conversation that was. Yeah, that was fantastic. So moving on to our lightning round. As I mentioned earlier, we do have some folks lined up, and really quick as we're getting that first person up here, Nate Smith with Nova Memphis. It's worth mentioning, Launch Tennessee, we are ecosystem development organization here within the state of Tennessee. We also do operate a fund, and so it's great that one of our first presenters and one of this is actually going to be one of our co-investors on quite a few deals at this point, right, Nate?
Yes, yeah. I think we've done 4 or 5 deals together now.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I'll let you take it away.
Great. So thanks, Chris. I'll just introduce myself real quick. My name is Nate Smith. I'm an associate at Nova Memphis. We're an early stage venture capital firm based in Memphis, Tennessee. We invest primarily in medical devices and ag tech, but we'll look at any B2B technology or really any early stage startup located in Tennessee. The company that I want to talk about for this lightning round is called Glanris Water Systems. It's a water purification, or a company with a water purification technology. The technology spun out of Christian Brothers University. It was developed by a researcher there. Early lab tests and production shows their filtration media is more effective than activated carbon or other current filters, particularly at removing heavy metal. And the best part is that the media is made from an agricultural waste product. So it's made from something that farmers currently are paying to have removed from their farm. And one of the country's biggest producers of that waste product is invested in their last round. We already have customers and they're selling as much of their product as they can produce. We're currently raising a Series A that Nova Memphis is leading to expand their production capacity and increase their sales. I think there's about $1 million left in the Series A round. So let me know if you are interested in participating or would like to learn more. My email is Nate, N-A-T-E, at innovamemphis.com, and I'll put that in the chat so you can see. Ooh, all right, got it done before the timer runs out, right about now.
Great job. Great job.
I had to start talking fast. I thought I was going to run out of time.
And actually, just as a quick reminder to everyone, you will get a copy of the updated lookbook. I know you all got one yesterday, but you will get a copy of the lookbook this week that'll have all the attendees that registered in the past 48 hours, and that'll help you to be able to connect with some of these folks after the call. So coming up next, we have Elise Miller-Hoffman from Cultivation Capital in St. Louis. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. My name is Elise, and I work with St. Louis-based venture capital firm Cultivation Capital. Founded in 2012, Cultivation is a family of venture funds that focuses on 3 core areas. So software IT is one vertical, agriculture tech is another vertical, and then I sit on our healthcare and life sciences side. So pleasure to meet all of you. For any of you looking for co-investors in the kind of seed to Series B stages across those verticals, would love to connect. Today, I'd like to share with you a company called Orbita, O-R-B-I-T-A. Orbita is a digital health company based in Boston, Massachusetts, and they enable healthcare organizations to create secure voice and chatbot powered virtual assistants. So think, how can healthcare organizations like hospitals, insurance companies, and pharmaceutical companies utilize an Amazon Alexa or a Google Home to better connect with patients, both inside the 4 walls of the hospital and after they go home. This is a company that's had a lot of recent traction after the COVID-19 pandemic because they've launched a new product called the COVID-19 Chatbot Screener and Knowledge Base. And this is a chatbot that integrates into hospital system websites and serves as a virtual front door to screen, triage, and educate both patients and employees. So with my time coming up, Orbita is bringing healthcare into the 21st century with voice and chatbot solutions for over 30 clients like Teladoc, Medtronic, Cigna, and the Mayo Clinic. Thanks so much, and look forward to connecting with you.
Great. And then next up, we will have Tony Ledich from the Angel Roundtable. Tony actually serves on Launch Tennessee's investment committee, helping us to evaluate early stage deals through our fund. So glad that you could join us and talk a bit about what your work that you're doing as well, Tony.
Happy to do so, Chris. I appreciate the opportunity. I'm managing director of the Angel Roundtable. We are a seed early stage investment group out of the Tri-Cities, Tennessee. We have members from across Tennessee, Southwest Virginia, and Eastern North Carolina. We typically invest in organizations that will provide us with a diversified portfolio in amounts of from $100,000 to $500,000. The company that we're bringing forth today and sharing is Winner Innovations. Winner is a medical device startup developing simple tools for overlooked areas in orthopedic surgery. The company is launching its very first product, which is named Easy Whip, which is a surgical suturing device intended to simplify and standardize the complex stitching of ligaments associated with the repair of sports injuries. Interestingly enough, with today's speaker, such as ACLs and Achilles tendons surgeries. Major accomplishments of the organization include they've attended 2 of our national accelerators, 0 to 510 in Memphis, and they're currently at the Tampa Bay Wave. They have a significant amount of funding in place in that they've won 12 pitch contests and have pre-seed funding in place of about $360,000 earlier this year. The company is moving forward rather briskly. They're on track to submit their 510K to the FDA by the end of the year, and we'd be happy to provide more information if you want to email me, Tony Ledich or Tony at theangelroundtable.com.
Awesome. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Tony. Up next, we'll have David Mendez pulling double duty, as we'll be talking about Good Growth Capital, as well as Techstars.
Yes, I wanted to Amy's. Yes, hi. Amy Solzhauer might also be online still with us. Amy brought me into Good Growth Capital a few years ago. She's one of the founding members. But I'll go ahead and cover that quickly. Good Growth Capital is based between Charleston, South Carolina, and Boston, Massachusetts. We invest at very early stages, pre-seed, seed, and into Series A in deep science-related companies, many in the biotech healthcare area, as well as data science, advanced manufacturing, and advanced materials. We also have a relationship with MIT and a special fund that invests in MIT-related science-based technologies as well. We are in the process of raising our third fund, and we have invested throughout the Southeast, Northeast, and in a few companies in the Midwest and the West Coast. We are highly interested in doing more in the state of Tennessee and other areas in the Southeast, so hence this is why we wanted to attend today's call. One of the companies that I'd like to mention today is called Obsidio. And Obsidio is based in South Carolina, but it actually was technology that was created at MIT and Harvard. Obsidio is a breakthrough in embolization technology. It is a semi-solid shear thinning biomaterial with distinct advantages over liquid embolics. Obsidio is currently doing an up round that was oversubscribed and then expanded to give the company more runway. So there's about $1 million left in that expanded round. We have been following and helping the founder with Obsidio for the last several years. It was just a sole founder company with the IP, and we came in early 2019 and led the company with a $300,000 pre-seed investment, and now we have led this next round of funding with other firms coming alongside us. That's one that really plays into both health tech and advanced materials.
David, you want to talk a little bit about Techstars really quick?
Yes. So while I've been a part of the team to grow Good Growth Capital, I had the pleasure of living in the Netherlands and running a smart city accelerator that was through Techstars. Techstars has about 45 of these accelerators throughout the world. In the Southeast, they have had or have accelerators in Atlanta, in Raleigh-Durham, in Texas, and in some areas in the Mid-Atlantic as well, but they are looking to grow in the Southeast region. They not only do the accelerator programs, but also they're the operator of many of the startup weekends that you all may be familiar with throughout the world. Techstars accelerators and startup weekends and other programs are global, and I still have a close affiliation with the company. Even though I was brought in for this specific accelerator in the Netherlands, I stay involved with Techstars for a couple of reasons. One is because it's a great group of people that are networked and provide us as venture capitalists access to some great opportunities, but also they are very much founder first and really like to do everything they do to encourage entrepreneurship worldwide. If anybody's interested in learning more about Techstars, certainly shoot me a note, as I'm sure they'd love to be more active in the Tennessee region.
Awesome. Thanks so much, David.
You're welcome.
On here. And then last lightning round pitch will be from Sam Teeden at Anthos Capital. If Sam is on, perfect.
I made it back. Appreciate it, Chris. Yeah, I'm Sam Teeden. I'm with Anthos Capital. We are a minority growth equity fund. We've been around since 2007. Based in Santa Monica, California today. I am actually in Charlotte, North Carolina, and opened up our East Coast office at the beginning of October last year. So today we have a $760 million fund where we are investing across a variety of industries. We're generalists by trade. And one investment that I would like to kind of bring up today is called UNest. This is an earlier stage investment for us. So UNest is a easy to use mobile application for kind of 529 college savings plans for children. So a unique approach for us here where we will kind of go across stages where about 20% of what we do is an earlier stage investment similar to UNest. The remaining 80% is kind of more growth stage. But this investment stuck out to us because it's a unique way for parents to really put money to work for their kids in a very easy, simple way, where 529 college savings plans have traditionally been, a little bit more complex. This app gives parents the ability to put money to work, save for their kids' college education. And so they launched earlier this year, showed some really nice traction. We led their seed round last year, and then recently led their Series A about a month ago. So really exciting one. It's called UNest if you want to look online. Thanks. I even beat my time.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much, Sam. Thank you everybody that did. So next up is more of what we're all here for, and which is the networking, and meet, connect with other investors around the Southeast. A few things before we kick that piece back off. Thank you all for joining. To everyone who joined from around the Southeast and across the country, really, thank you. You're part of making this first event what it is. This will definitely not be the last. We want to make this a regular thing, and we'll have ongoing conversations about cadence and everything such as that. So definitely be on the lookout for a word on the next one. I want to thank Derrick Morgan for joining us on Fireside Chat, and Brandon Bruce for leading that, and also for leading this effort, and Startup Knox for being a great partner, as well as our sponsoring partner, Insperity, and your leadership in the region, and the work that you guys do. Be on the lookout for a word from Insperity and follow up on this event. Also, be on the lookout for a word from Washington DC and 3686. As we promised, we were going to give you guys a deep discount, which we're trying to announce here shortly on 3686 tickets. So be on the lookout for those communications as well. And other than that, I will leave it to our multiple team to send everybody back to the networking tables. Thank you guys so much. If you have any questions or want to connect with Washington further, feel free to reach out to myself. I'll make sure that my email is in the chat if you haven't seen it already. Myself or Abby Collins or Steve, we'd love to connect with you. Thank you so much.